북방여량강 고량 청정하에 산보 철룡강 차지 아금지 성묘 진은 문서저 비밀가 호야 숙소조제 아금 개유무시 탐진체 종신구이지 소생 일체야금계 참매 나무 참제업장보 성장불 오광왕화 염조부 일체향화 자재려광불 애거항화사 결정불 진이덕불 건강경가소보 계산불 보광월 점요엄 존왕불 한이장 만이보적불 무젠양 성황불 산자월불 환희장 음주왕불 세보당 만이성왕불 살생중재금일 참매 투도중재금일 참매 사흠중재금일 참매 망의중재금일 참매 기여중재금일 설중재금일 참매 악보중재금일 참매 탐매중재금일 참매 진해중재금일 참매.
Okay, so thank you for appearing for our Dharma talk, and I wonder who that is. I'm going to go and look. Oh, is there somebody on the computer doing that? What else? You should.
It's a new thing that Danielle asked for.
And what does it do? It plays while I'm doing the intro.
Playing in between during the 10-minute intermission.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm not going to say anything. Anyway, so given an introductory talk today is David Fitzpatrick, and he's from Fall River, Mass. He has a wife and 2 grown kids, and he's been at Providence. He's been coming here for 8 years. It's been that long, huh? Whoa.
It feels longer.
Yeah. I feel, yeah, well, okay. Then he has the 5 precepts he took in 2022, and he has 10 precepts which he took in 2024. And then answering questions today is Dyan, and Dyan's been around for a long time. So Dyan began studying with Zen Master Seung Sahn in 1974. See, a long time, right? Now, she received Inka in December 2020, and Dyan is one of the founding members of the Cambridge Zen Center, where she served as housemaster and head Dharma teacher prior to retiring in 2019. Dyan was founder and CEO of DharmaCrafts, and she's going to answer any questions that you have. So please ask questions about Zen or Buddhism or whatever you like to keep the talk interesting. Thank you.
Thank you all for staying for the talk. I just think it's kind of entertaining that we're all probably sitting on DharmaCraft right now.
Yeah, we're all sitting on DharmaCrafts.
So I think that's kind of a close the loop there. So I was watching a movie in the last week or so, and there was a scene where a coach was meeting his team for the very first time, and he asked the team, "Why are you here?" And the team members, spoke up and they said, "We're here to practice. We're here to get stronger. We're here to get better." All the answers you might expect. And teachers, of course, like, no. Why are you really here? What's your purpose? Or in our school, what's your direction? So if you were to ask me that question, the first day I walked in here, I might probably give you a snarky answer like, I'm here about the Zen stuff. I want to learn about the Zen stuff. If I was honest, which I would not have been, I might have said, or I probably should have said, or admitted, that I want to know why there's so much sadness in my life. Now the term would be suffering. Why is there so much suffering? And now if you've asked me that question again today, my answer would be, What's my purpose? I'm here to try to reduce the suffering of myself and others. Now, our teachers might say, my answer should have been something like, I'm here for you, or maybe, sentient beings are numberless, and I'm here to save them all, or in the compass of Zen, it says the purpose of Buddhism is to attain enlightenment and to teach others. So those are the teaching words. Those are the lessons that we learn as we come here. But my answer is my answer. Maybe it's not enough. Is that enough? Maybe it's not enough. Maybe it is, but it's my answer. And my talk today is not about my purpose. My talk is about that transition from the lessons to personalizing it, making it your own. Okay? So they mentioned I've been coming here for about a little over 8 years, and over that time I've learned a lot about what we call teaching phrases, and that includes things like, in our terms, don't grasp, don't hold, don't check, don't make, don't know, only go straight, just do it. The last one is a correct situation, relationship, and function. That's a big one. There are more, but those are the ones that are burned into my head. And throughout my practice, I've learned them, I've heard them over and over again, and I've incorporated them into my life. And I can say, guaranteed, some of them have prevented suffering, some of them have reduced suffering, some of them have ended suffering, some of them do nothing. It depends on the situation, sometimes the reward is different. So it's been extremely helpful through my life. However, the big but is under that is this current that never stopped, that dissatisfaction, this suffering, this sadness is persistent through it all. Even though I feel like I'm practicing hard, maybe not enough cold check. Feels like I'm practicing hard, feels like my practice is consistent, feels like I'm taking it seriously, feels like I'm learning it, but the suffering persistent. So, there's been 3 things that I'll say are, to use my own words, maybe revelations, maybe acceptance, maybe it's changed my own mental habits. In our teaching words, maybe it's me digesting my karma, changing my karma from good karma to bad karma, I don't know. But there's 3 things I want to describe. And the first one was a realization or an acceptance that the only thing that's really under my own control is my opinion. A situation or a person or a group of people or the news, they can't make me happy or sad or mad or angry. They can't do that. My opinion of that is what's causing all the trouble. The idea that this is good or bad or I like or dislike, that's the problem. And realizing that was just like, oh, I'm doing this to myself. Now, the wording I used there is really no different from our own teachings, which is don't make something of a situation. Don't check the situation, don't turn it into something more than it is or something different from what it is. So there's the gap there between the Zen stuff and my own ideas and how it slowly becomes your own idea and you change. And my position today will probably not be, I know it won't be my position tomorrow. It'll just keep changing. But that's where we are today and how I got to that point. The second thing I wanted to mention, and this one, I journal, and I felt this was huge. It was huge, a whole page. I discovered that I am chronically dissatisfied. And it's written, it's highlighted, it's page marked, it's dog-eared. I keep coming back to it. And chronically dissatisfied, it's not like I want to be a bitch about things. It's just that I can't help but feel like this situation could be better. This situation should be better. It shouldn't suck this much. And it grinds you down. You eventually start to feeling like, I give up. There's nothing I can do about this. And that idea of chronic dissatisfaction, when I look back on it, that's Buddhism 101. If you come into a Buddhist practice, it's most likely that they're going to start with the Four Noble Truths. There is suffering. Suffering is caused by desires and aversions. And dissatisfaction is desires and aversions. You want this situation to be other than it is. You want something or you don't want something. So it's a long way around, 8 years to come around to say, oh, Jesus Christ, they told me this day one. But now it's mine. Now I recognize it. The third thing I wanted to mention, and this one's hard to talk about because it's elusive to pin it. So I'm going to take a shot at it. So consciousness has been described, I've read, as, you can picture it as like a person in a boat. You're a person in a boat, and you're riding on the stream of consciousness. You're not in control of where the boat's going. You're not in control of the rapids, the rocks, the trees, the waterfalls. You're just sort of a victim. Another way I've heard it described is if you look really hard into yourself and think, who's thinking this? Where is that who? Where is it? If you try, you might see that right behind your eyes, just forward of your ears, there's a spot. That's me. That's me. And that me is experiencing that. And everything's like from that, it's out. And the last thing I wanted to kind of as a setup here, the last thing is the way we speak is kind of handicapping. Like we do introductory orientations, and we say, you put your mind on something, clear mind, don't know. And then when you notice you drifted, you bring it back, and you put it back on clear mind. And that's kind of a setup. It's almost like setting us up for subject-object, me, other. And maybe that's useful as a practice to get us going, to tame our minds and get it back to what is this, what is this, what is this, what is this. So I'll just leave that hanging for the value of how we speak. And it's a handicap. It's hard to not speak like that. It's very hard. So my big revelation, or my big rewiring, or my new mental habit, is that person in the boat went away. It's just the stream. And it's not even a stream. The stream's not there. It's just motion. It's just change, impermanence. It's just constantly change. This, the idea that there's a witness right here, it went away. Not permanent. It goes away. And you're just the experience. There's nothing else to it. It's just that. The idea that there's like behind your brain is a person watching the thoughts, doing what they should and what they shouldn't do, and controlling that. That person went away, leaving just the thoughts. So that's my words, and I think it's clear mind. I think that's clear mind. We've been talking about it nonstop. Day one, clear mind, don't know. When the guy in the boat goes away and it's just that for me is my original nature. That's clear mind. That's don't know. That's what I've been, that's it for me. So somebody asked Zen Master Seung Sahn back in 75, a student asked, what is keeping a mind which is clear as space? Seung Sahn answered, it is enlightenment nature, above the abode of Buddhas, below the 6 realms of existence. One by one, each thing is complete in the clear mind. One by one, each thing has it. It and dust interpenetrate. It is already apparent in all things. So without cultivation, you are already complete. Understand, it is very clear. I tell you what, when I first started here and I read that, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I think the part that's I really like is it's complete. This clear mind is complete. Another way to think of it is some people will say that clear mind encompasses everything. And I think that maybe is a mistaken conception, because to imply that there's something more than your experience, everything. It seems bigger than the experience. That's not right either. It's just the experience. It's just this. then what? So, that train wreck of a talk there. So what? What do you do with it? So here's an example of what I do with it. I recently had a situation where I hit a bit of a wall, and it really doesn't matter what the situation is, because I've applied this to lost keys, traffic jams, health scares where you start to question mortality, your own old age, sickness, and death. It's working for all of them. And I'm going to describe it as the sequence of thoughts that occur to me. So the first thing is there's thinking about the situation, the opinion of the situation, the desires and aversions, thinking. And then there's thinking that I'm suffering. I'm thinking suffering. Oh. And then I think, this desires. I don't go after the desires and aversions. I just notice, desires. And then just slip right into the clear mind. And in that clear, wide open space, something might appear. It might not. But in that clear space, all the suffering goes away. It just stops. It's just clear space. What is this moment right here, right now? If something appears, I can choose to act on it or not. There's this concept called Wu Wei, effortless action. And if this response appears and I choose to act on it, then I act on it without expectation of an outcome. Just act. Just do. Just do it. Only go straight. So there it is again. There's the lesson slipping into my talk. So you just do it, and then you come back to the clear space. Now, if nothing appears, then what? I've read this in some of the Zen talks. Then what? Go drink your tea. It sounds funny now, but it makes sense. If nothing appears, go spend time with family. Go do your job. Go do your dishes. Go do something. Go do what you love to do. If that's drinking tea, go drink tea. And do it 100%. Really enjoy it. Do something you like. And then if something else appears in that clear space, deal with that. I think I covered most of what I wanted to there. There's one last thing I want to read. Isn't it funny how when you're thinking about stuff and then you read, if you read a lot, whatever you're thinking about appears in the readings? It's crazy. You crack a book, So I read a lot of stuff online, and this one popped up while I was thinking about this talk. And this lady named Joan Tollefson said, "There is a place, a placeless place right here now that is beyond all doubt and free from all psychological suffering. We must each discover it for ourselves." That's the big thing. We must each discover it for ourselves. And once discovered, there's the possibility of opening to it again and again, ever freshly. So, forget everything I said, but remember that this is all about practice. It's all about repetition. It's all about keeping at it. It's persistence. Try, over and over and over. And it all begins with this simple act of what I consider my anchor. Just sit, look at the floor. What is this? Don't know. So, thank you all for being here and allowing me to practice this Zen stuff.
No, thank you for your wonderful talk. Wow, he really covered a lot. He covered a lot of ground.
And ignore all the ground and just try to pick that piece up.
No, but I always really enjoy the talks where people actually talk about, how they take their practice and kind of, work with it and what comes out of it, like you just did, and I just think that's wonderful. So. Yeah. So David talked about dissatisfaction, he talked about practicing, he talked about what else? Complete this, each thing is complete, each thing has it. I mean, he covered a whole gamut of stuff. So I bet there might be a lot of questions, right?
Hope so.
I hope so too, because I usually have something in my back pocket that I prepare just in case. that nobody has any questions, but this was like a really good talk and really like a lot of very serious talk, and so what I was thinking about saying to everybody wouldn't fit. So
Yeah, these talks are always a surprise for the teacher too.
yeah, we don't know what anybody is going to say. So does anyone have any questions today?
How you doing? Couple of quick things I got from that, so thank you. One is, if suffering is a common denominator with all humans, and it seems enlightenment is our ultimate goal, does enlightenment take away from suffering, or does it give a better understanding? And then, is enlightenment and consciousness one and the same?
So let me just take a sip of water. So when Buddha was teaching, he said, life is suffering, right? That's his first noble truth. And the word for suffering in Pali or Sanskrit, I don't know which one it is dukkha, D-U-K-K-A. And it doesn't mean suffering necessarily, in the sense of like falling down and breaking your leg or getting a headache. It's not that kind of suffering, or suffering of your body necessarily. It's what David was talking about. It means dissatisfaction. So this permeating sense of dissatisfaction, of our life never being enough. Whatever we have, it's not enough. There's always something else that I need, something else that I desire, someplace else that I wanna go, someone else who I wanna be. So there's this dissatisfaction, and what is the root of that? What is the root of that? And that's what our practice, our Zen practice is trying to get to the root of that. So, all the teachers will say, everybody will say that the root of our suffering comes from something that we make. And again, David talked about making. It's like some idea that we make. And it comes from this idea of an I, like I, the letter I as some like independently existing thing. And we all have that, and in some sense we need to have that. We need to have that in order to survive. We have a body. And so if we didn't have an I, a sense of I, we wouldn't take care of ourselves, and we wouldn't survive very long. So we always talk in our Zen school about taking away I, and taking away, with I comes my, and with my comes me, so taking away this I, my, me. But I think there's another, like I, and I call it our healthy I. And that's something that is, that goes with it goes with our body. It's our natural thing, and that's not something that we necessarily need to take away. But this I, this other I, this I that's caught up with this dissatisfaction, with all the, with all kinds of, desires, with just wanting so much. This is the I that we're looking into when we practice. It's like, what is it? What is this? What is this I? Where did it come from? You know, before we were born, where was it? And when we die, where will it go? And so that's our practice, is looking into that. What am I? You know, don't know. We don't know. So a lot of times people practice in order to get enlightenment, what's called enlightenment. But enlightenment it's just a word. It's a word. And enlightenment is not something that Zen Master Seung Sahn, my teacher, ever emphasized at all. In fact, anytime anybody would ask him about enlightenment, he would say, so if you get enlightenment, what are you going to do with it? You know, it's like, what are you going to do with that? And if somebody would ask him, like, what is enlightenment? He would say that try mind, this mind that never stops trying, and correct direction. Correct direction. What he called correct direction was always was living your life for other people, for other beings. So taking care of this world, taking care of each other. So enlightenment wasn't like some special, mind state where you would be able to perceive like everything in the universe and you wouldn't know what was going to happen and like that. It was just being fully in your life in such a way that your life was directed towards benefiting other people and benefiting this world. And it's just a very simple thing, and it's not exciting, It's just what we do every day. It's washing the clothes. It's, sweeping the floor. It's not any special thing. So, did that answer your question?
Yes, it's interesting though because Buddha means enlightened one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to
Awakened one.
awakened, right?
Yeah.
Which once again, it's all these terms that we learn and we pick up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So awaken, awaken, enlightened, consciousness. Are they all part of the same construct? That's all.
Yeah. So, some great teacher, what did he say? He said, I can't remember. He said, okay, here's what he said. He said that Zen is a teaching outside of the sutras, pointing directly to your mind. See your true nature and become Buddha. So what that teaching is saying is that Zen isn't something that you can understand from like reading books or listening to Dharma talks even, It's a teaching that's outside of the sutras. You could read like all 84,000 sutras and you might know everything that Buddha taught, but you don't really understand what that means yourself, yourself. And so that's why we practice. So it's pointing. So this teaching that's outside of the sutras, it's pointing directly to your mind. See your nature. What is my true nature? Somebody tell me, what's your true nature? don't know, right? You don't know. See your true nature and become Buddha. So, you don't know. Now, some people call that, like what we're talking about, they'll call it don't know. That's like the name, or consciousness, or Buddha, or enlightenment, or God. And, but really, to even open your mouth and say anything is a mistake, because what we're talking about right now is something that's before. It's before our speech and our words. So it's before speech and words. It's not something that we can even talk about. It's before, in Zen, there's some Zen words for it too. It's like before name, the name of something, the bell or the cushion, or it's before, we're talking about something that's before name and form. So, so what is that? What is that? What is this? So different teachers had different ways of explaining this thing that there's no words for. There's like an old Zen master named Guji, and whatever question, any question that anybody asked him, he would just hold up one finger. Mm-hmm. And then there's another Zen master, Daksan, and if somebody asked him any questions, anything, boom, he would just hit them. He'd hit them with a stick. And Linchi was another great Zen master, and anybody that ever asked him anything, he would just say, "Hup!" He would make this shout. There's no words. There's no words in our Zen school when we're trying to talk about these kind of things. We hit the floor like that. At that moment, all there is the sound. Inside, there's no outside. You and this sound just become one. And we call that primary point. That's our teaching words for it. Primary point. And so we do koan practice, and in koan practice, if you've ever done it, you'll be hitting the floor a lot. The koans are these old. How many people are quite new to Zen? Okay. So besides our meditation practice that we do, and chanting and bowing, we also do something that's called koan practice, and it's a very traditional Zen thing. Goes back to maybe the I think the 12th century, and what it is you go into a room and you have an interview with a teacher who's already studied these koans. Koans are they're like these questions, and they're usually interactions between a Zen master and his student, or it might be between two Zen masters. It's kind of like at Harvard Business School, they teach you with case studies. In Zen, we have these, they're called cases. And they're these little stories, and then there's some questions that go with them. And the questions are very interesting. They're not the sort of thing that you can answer just using your rational mind. So you have to go into a part of yourself, another part of your mind that we don't train too often. We spend our whole life in school training our reason, our logic, but our mind is bigger than that, and so we so these case studies, these koans help us to connect with this other part of our mind, this more intuitive mind that we all have. And I've lost my train of thought. I don't know why. What was I saying that I got on the koans? Oh, okay. Yes, this. Okay, this. So if you're doing koans, then you'll learn this hit, which is always, it's taking you back. It takes you back to your mind before thinking arises. So at this time, when all there is there's no thinking, there's no ideas, there's no opinions in your mind. There's only this. And it just is a split second at first. But we can cultivate this mind that is that's very clear and that's very open, and that's what our practice is about. Yes.
So beyond the cushion.
Oops, can you speak up, please?
Maybe the mic, can you use the microphone, please?
So they can hear on Zoom. So cultivating a clear mind and presence and not knowing on the cushion. And then bringing this into daily life, when one encounters things that are really challenging concepts or really challenging circumstances, it feels like there's like keeping in mind like I don't know, but then also like a bit of like attentiveness and like continuing to engage with something. And then there's like especially in the face of like a call to action, and like I'm being very vague, but thinking about like broader circumstances
Of what's happening.
Yeah. And so it's like, how does one rectify like being in this place of like openness and not knowing, and also feeling like there's so much action taking place, and like wanting to have some values and wanting to act in alignment with those values?
Yeah, so that's a good question and a very timely question, and I think that that's probably on a lot of people's mind right now. I know it's on my mind, I know it's on my mind. I don't like to talk about politics here, but we can just talk about how everything that we kind of know and have depended on, how it's very rapidly shifting, and we don't really know what the future holds, and also, we see, like, it seems to be that there's a lot of harm that's happening right now to people, and soon even more harm to our planet and our climate. So this is a really hard one, and this is why practicing right now is really, really important, to become clear, to become strong, so that if it's necessary to do some kind of action, then you'll know. You'll know what to do. So I'll just tell you how the world looks to me right now, and I don't know if it's right or anything. It's just my view of things, and I think it's just been like this always, but right now it's just very sharply in focus. And I was just talking a little while ago about this eye, this eye that we make that causes suffering. And it seems right now that people's eye is very, very strong. It's just, give me money, give me power, give me, I don't care about anybody else, just give me, give me, give me. And so there's this energy that's moving like that. And so, if we have other ideas about how life, how it should go, how it should be, how people should exist together, how to make the world more harmonious and peaceful, then that's a different energy than this other really strong I. And to me, that's why I see like our practice as a form of resistance. It's like we're taking apart that, we're just trying to like look into that in ourselves. We're trying to see, what is it that I'm holding on to? What is it that causes me to harm people? What is it that makes me angry? What is this that's making me suffer so that I take it out on my family, let's say, or my people at work. And so I find that, at least in my mind, this is how I'm trying to approach this, is that practicing really hard and kind of dismantling this selfishness, this, all this desire, all these different things in myself it's a form of resistance. It's like pushing, it's sending energy in an opposite direction, or maybe it's even balancing out. Like I said, this is just my, just how I'm kind of looking at it myself. Maybe it's balancing that out. And at the same time, it's our practice, it makes us strong. The more that we can just be in any situation without trying to, grasp it or change it, or I shouldn't say that, because we do want to change some things, but just in small things, like in our own personal life. The more that we can be satisfied with things the way that they are, then the less suffering that we're going to have, and the less suffering we're going to make for other people. Like Zen Master Seung Sahn, he always talked about enough mind. Enough mind, like having enough. So having enough happiness, but also having enough sadness, having enough, I'll tell you a funny story, okay? I'll tell you my favorite enough mind story with Sansanim, and it will give you a good sense of what he used to mean by that. So I lived at Cambridge Zen Center for a long time, and Sansanim would come. He'd spend half of the week here at Providence Zen Center, and then he was studying English, so he would come to Harvard to the extension school to study English, and he'd spend half of the week with us. And so sometimes when he would come, he would take us all out to Chinatown for dinner. And we would be so happy because, this was a long time ago. There weren't even any vegetarian cookbooks then. And all we knew how to make was rice and stir-fried vegetables. We never had any protein. Our food was really bad. It was really, really bad. And so he would come and he would say, let's go to Chinatown and we'll, and we'll have dinner, and everybody is like, "Oh, we're so happy," and all we want is some good food. And then so we'd go, he'd take us to one of those like out of the way kind of places, not a touristy place, but a place where Asians would go. And we'd sit at a big round table, and there would be one of those big lazy Susans in the middle. And then he would order food. He'd say, no meat, no fish. And then he'd order, all kinds of like egg foo young and vegetables and tofu and all these things. He would order, maybe there would be like 7 of us, because there weren't very many people at the Zen Center. So there were only about 7 of us, but he ordered enough food for like 17 people. I mean, there was so much food. And we were like, we see this food and we're so happy because we're half starved from eating this terrible diet for so long. And so everybody's like eating and eating and eating. And pretty soon we couldn't eat anymore. And there would always be food left. And so Sansnim would, he didn't believe in doggy bags. We couldn't take it home. He made us eat it all. He didn't force me to eat too much, but the guys, like big ones, they had to eat. They had to eat, and it had to all be gone. By the time it was gone, you never wanted to see another piece of food again. And Sansnim would say, now you understand enough mind. Now you understand enough mind. But our life is like that. All our experiences are like, it's like that. Maybe you're going through a divorce. Maybe your life is like falling apart. But that's enough. That's your life right now. That's enough. You have enough suffering. Or maybe you just had a baby and your life you're just like so happy. That's enough. So our practice is learning to keep that kind of that enough mind. And slowly, as we practice, and as we clear up a lot of the things that are troubling us inside, and resolving, letting things that are happening in our life resolve themselves, then, we begin to experience that mind much more. And I don't know about you, but whenever I'm like stressing about something, or I'm not getting enough, or somebody hurt my feelings, or whatever, it's like I talk to myself. I'll confess, I don't mind. And I say, Dyan, keep enough mind. Keep enough mind. That's one thing that I think I really appreciate about our school, and I have to stop talking in a minute, but is that, Sansnim, I don't know whether it was because he was such a great teacher or just because he didn't have very much English, but he came up with these teaching phrases that are just so right on. And David was talking about that in the very beginning of his talk. There's so many things that you can spend your whole life. Like, I've been doing this for 50 years, more than 50 years. I came to the Zen Center when I was only 22 years old. And I met Sansnim and studied with him till he died. And I'm still studying Zen, now teaching a little bit. But you can work on somebody says, only go straight, don't know. Like, what does that mean? You can spend your whole life on that. Keep correct, only follow the situation, keep correct situation, keep correct relationship, keep correct function, and just do it. I mean, you can live your whole life like that. You can live your whole life. And then if you're doing that, then you're practicing all the time. Your whole life is a meditation. It's not easy. And that's why, it's not easy to even remember that as we're going through all the complicated things that our life entails. And so that's why it's so important, like every day, to just come back to yourself, even if it's just 10 minutes. You know, what am I? Don't know. Just always bringing your mind back. And then slowly, you can remember in the heat of things. You know, when you're having an argument with your husband or your kid, and you can remember to you step back and it's like, what is this, you know? And try to just get clear about what's happening rather than, you know, letting things escalate. You can just, you know, remember. Just remember when you're doing the dishes, and your mind is like thinking about this, you know, what somebody at work did to you. You know, you remember to bring your mind back. What am I doing now? And then just do it. That's our practice. Just over and over again, just returning to that point. That's all. So, anyway, thank you all very, very much for coming today. I hope that I answered some of your questions and that that you'll come back and try to experience this for yourself.
Thank you both for your wonderful talks. I needed some information about Kangan interviews for a newsletter, so thank you for whoever asked that question, because now I have it. So just a few announcements. We had a wonderful retreat yesterday, so I think everyone, I'm not sure that many people from that are still here, they're probably resting, but we're taking a little bit of a break from our 1-day and 2-day retreats, but we will have a 2-day YMJJ beginning of May, and then a couple of weeks later we will have a art as practice retreat where we'll actually make art. Speaking of art, this afternoon we're going to have our first meeting of an art club. If you are interested, you can. It's going to start at 1 p.m. If you would like to eat pizza, be there at 12:30, because that's when we'll order pizza. So you're free to, leave and come back or hang out with us. We do still have a couple of weeks of Kyulcha left. That's our long retreat at the monastery. If you have previous experience with our retreats, you can sit a week or both. And that's going to be with our the head teacher of Kwanum School of Zen, Zen Master Seung Sahn, Bobby Rhodes. So that's going to be a great way to practice a little bit more intensely. You can, of course, find information about all of that on our website. We have Buddha's birthday coming up at the end of Kyulcha. I think it's April 4th. I should know this date by now. It's April 4th and 5th. And we'll have celebrations for Buddha's birthday, and we'll have a precept ceremony as well. The gift shop will be open right after this. And otherwise, I will see you either at the art club or at practice, maybe Wednesday or next Sunday. Thank you, everyone, for coming.